there was so much freedom and relief that I found in those words, you know. And as I met with more and more positive discipline educators and trainers, and even Jane Nelson herself, I was really touched by how authentic they were in sharing the mistakes that they made as parents. And it really debunked the hidden belief I had, you know, that I had to be the perfect parent in order for my child to turn out well. And this principle also helped me to regard my child with more compassion, because, you know, children will make mistakes, right? And home needs to be that safe environment for them to make those mistakes and to learn from them without blame or shame. And of course, that will in turn, you know, help to build the trust and the connection.
Welcome to today's interview. My name is Annette, if you're new to my channel. And I've got not only one, but two guests today. And I have got Valerie and Sophia joining me from Southeast Asia. Valerie and Sophia are fellow parent educators, and we met through the Positive Discipline Association, which was founded by Jane Nelson. And we have the opportunity as parent educators and also parents, which is first and foremost our role, to join global mentor groups where we meet once a month and we share our experience. And more than that, we learn a lot of, you know, what works and what doesn't work. And in last month's call, I had the absolute pleasure to meet Valerie and Sophia, who are from not where I'm from in Europe. They will introduce themselves in a moment. And I was so fascinated when I was buddied up with Valerie, how when we shared a childhood experience, which we will keep private just for confidentiality, but how much I could relate to Valerie's experience as a child. And that got me thinking that parenting is not only we don't share only the challenges of our neighbors here in our immediate surroundings, but we are on this journey as parents worldwide. And while there might be cultural differences, I think we have more of in common than that is different. So I'm going to, and my intention really is for our call, you know, that you, the parent who sees this video, that you see how we can relate to everyone really, and we're not alone, and that's the main message. So with that, I would like to have Valerie and Sophia to introduce themselves, to tell us where they currently live and maybe where they're originally from, and the ages or the children they have and what ages they are. So thank you so much for joining me today. Sophia, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you, Annette, for having us. This is so exciting. So my family, I have a 16-year-old boy, 11-year-old girl, and a 7-year-old boy. And we are a mixed race family, American and Filipino. We moved to Singapore almost 8 years ago now. So we are currently raising third culture kids here in Singapore, and we're loving it. And that's how I met Valerie also, like being here in Singapore, and I'm so grateful to be here.
Thank you. And Valerie?
Hi, everyone. I'm really, really happy to be here chatting with Annette and Sophia and everyone who's watching. So I have two children. They are aged 9 and 4. And together with Sophia, we formed the Positive Discipline Singapore. So we are both from Singapore, and we help parents to build calm and connected relationships with their children by, you know, facilitating experiential workshops to arm parents with the positive discipline tools and the support that they need. And so when I became a mom, you know, I didn't really expect the transformational journey that I would have to go through, but through parenting them, I was led on a path to become a better person by you know, going through that inner work of reparenting, healing, looking into my own beliefs about, you know, all sorts of things like what obedience should look like, you know, what does respect mean, and so forth. So it has been a really transformational journey, and yeah, and positive discipline was part of that journey for me as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And that's kind of leading me into my first question, you know. So in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, positive discipline and the Adlerian approach, which positive discipline is under, it's not at the moment very widely spread. And this morning I looked up how many live in Singapore, and I was surprised how the population is very similar to Ireland. I think you've got about 5.5 million, and Ireland is just above 5 million. And I would love to hear, you know, how you found positive discipline before we talk a little bit more about it. Valerie, would you like to continue?
So I think thinking back, I just kind of stumbled into positive discipline when I was at a really desperate and challenging time in my parenting. So all the while till my daughter was about 6 years old, I had been using, you know, whatever tools that I had to parent her, which really wasn't anything much. But, you know, I was the kind of mom who did lots of activities with her. I spent a lot of time with her. You know, I was caring, I loved her. But, you know, I couldn't tolerate it whenever she disobeyed. So things were kind of still okay when she was in preschool. But you know, because at that time I still had like the power and the control over her because she was still little. But once she turned like 6 or 7, you know, the relationship became more and more strained. You know, there were lots of power struggles over different things, and you know, I was shouting at her almost every day. And of course, the guilt would overwhelm me because you know I couldn't sleep at night because you know, I mean, here I was loving her so much, but yet you know there was something that was coming in between the both of us. So this cycle would continue the next day. And as much as I hated to be that authoritarian mom, I didn't know how to get out of it. I just didn't have the tools to get out of it. So I think the straw that broke the camel's back was one morning when I was sending her to school. She refused to eat her breakfast. Right. So out of good intentions, of course, I scolded her for not eating because I was worried that you know she wouldn't have enough energy for the day. And that was how I dropped her off at the school gate. You know, I was angry, I was guilty, frustrated, and just really sad at the way that things were turning out between us. So that very same morning in the car at the car park, I decided that no, things couldn't continue like this anymore. You know, if I wanted something more out of this relationship with her, then I had to up level myself as a mom. So there and then I signed up for some respectful parenting workshop that I can't even remember what it was, which one was it, but you know, I signed up anyway, and then I continued signing up for more and more. And then I also bought lots of books, and one of them was of course Positive Discipline by Jane Nelson. So you know, because I had nothing else to lose anyway, I tried out the positive discipline tools in my home. So I started with the really simple ones, like you know, there's the tool of the silent signals.
Yes.
So because I was so used to nagging at my daughter all the time, yeah. So when I started using silent signals, it brought so much peace, and it felt really respectful because I was like showing faith in her to remember what we had agreed on without all the nagging. And another one was family meetings. That was really powerful as well because you know, with the clear family meeting framework that was set up by Positive Discipline, I felt like it really brought the family together and set up a more solution-focused family culture instead of previously when we were just like fighting fires all the time. Yeah. So because I was so intrigued by all the changes that this brought about in my home, I looked up the Positive Discipline Association website, and I saw that it had some certification workshops. And to be honest, I didn't have any idea about what the certification workshops were all about. But because I had some time on my hands and I was on this quest to upgrade myself, so I just decided, okay, I'll just sign up for it. And I didn't really expect that my life would, you know, take another 180-degree turn. So I attended the teaching parenting training workshop by Casey Oroti, and that was where I met Sophia. Yeah, and I was totally blown away by all the experiential activities and how they drew forth so much of the reflection and understanding without lecturing or telling me exactly what I need to do or what I should not do, right? So I knew that there and then that this was something that was worth my time pursuing and sharing with others because I had experienced for myself the impact that positive discipline had on me and my family.
Thanks. Yeah. And so, Sophia, that's so interesting Sophia, you met Valerie on Casey's workshop. You didn't know each other before, or
No,
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 you
yeah,
didn't?
we didn't. And it was so interesting because how I found positive discipline was,
Uh-huh.
they have the positive parenting conference where they throw you a bunch of speakers
Uh-huh.
and then you have to like binge watch each speaker or
Yeah.
else you have to pay, to watch everyone.
Mhm.
And that was like 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago.
Okay.
And at that point, I thought I actually had parenting figured out, because people were complimenting how well behaved my kids, and I really thought my role was to um, train them to be strong to face the cruel world.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, was I wrong. It was like, you know, it's when I realized that behind closed doors, there's lots of fighting, there's lots of like we're butting heads, um, and it didn't sit right with me, you know. And so I was trying to look for more tools, like, okay, so how could I do this better? How could I change this? How could I have how could I make them obey? That's the first thing, right?
Yeah.
Which now, looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought so differently then, because it's when I realized, when I discovered positive discipline, I didn't even know that it was called positive discipline then, because it was all like, the rage was, at least on my part, it was like positive parenting, gentle parenting, all this, and I couldn't quite relate, fully relate, because I think I still have the need for control then. Like
Okay.
I wanted to be firm,
Yeah.
right? But then when I discovered, I was following this another parenting coach who does the kind and firm deal.
Yeah.
That's when I realized that, oh, it was, you know, positive discipline. And when I attended that parenting workshop, Casey Arority just jumped out.
Oh,
And I told her this,
yeah.
like I stopped watching the conferences, because I think, like when you find something that resonates with you, you kind of just stick with it.
Yeah.
And especially if it's been helpful for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when I got deeper into it, and how I didn't even know that it was a reparenting work. I just wanted tools then. I just wanted tools. And I got frustrated at some point because why are the tools and strategies not aligning for me? Like I would get frustrated, like why?
Yeah.
I'm following the script, I'm following the tools. Why is it not working as it should? And when I got deeper into positive discipline and going through the mentor meetings that you and I met,
Yeah.
I realized that my head didn't really align with my heart and my nervous system. You know how nowadays it's all about the nervous system,
Yes.
all
Yeah.
about neuroscience. And I think that's what I really love about positive discipline too, because when Alfred Adler did this, like in the late 1800s, he was already advocating for like holism, like looking at
Yeah.
the whole and not just what the problem is.
Yes.
And also like social indebtedness, belonging and significance,
Yeah.
goal-directed behavior.
Uh-huh.
So all these things really affect our perspective now, like our childhood memories, our birth order. It really plays a major role in our decisions as adults. And that's what really, like, I got drawn into it and I just got deeper. Yeah.
That is, oh my goodness, this is so aligned, because my second question starts exactly with this lead in. So my second question is around what we or you find really helpful for you as a parent. And I was going to say, just to connect with what Sophia said, is what Alfred Adler and the Adlerian approach is about. I'm not going to repeat your words. It's that addresses the belief behind the behavior. And that to me is so revolutionary, to not only address what the child is doing, but why are they doing that? And for parents to have a simple understanding, they don't have to study psychology to get that, because we learned as parent educators this quite experiential approach, And this is what made such a difference in my own life. And what that means, because I think at the start you don't even know what that means, is how
Right.
when your child, let's say Valerie pointed out the power struggles. So I found this approach when my daughter was about 8 months old, and I'm still learning, and I know I will forever learn this. But when on her first birthday, I bought her this beautiful yellow dress. And it was such a struggle, one of the first struggles, to get her to wear what I wanted her to wear. You know, like I think Valerie said earlier, like in the early years, they obey and they're just so lovely, you know, and they do everything you say. But then eventually it starts. And I was sitting there. Eventually, we were about to go to a birthday party, her first birthday, where we had invited many people to. And I was sitting there. I remember looking at her in her beautiful yellow dress, the way I wanted it. And I asked myself, what is going on for me? You know, so Alfred Adler says there's always the belief behind the behavior, and we form that in the early years, and we take that with us into adult life. That's one of my favorite learnings or tools, or you know, and I found the answer for myself that I need my child to wear this beautiful dress so everybody else will say, your girl looks so beautiful, and the approval I get as a mother. Can you relate to that?
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
And
Yeah.
it was such a, and when you say, Sophia, you know, the nervous system, and it's, isn't it what the Adlerian approach is about, is like helping us with our awareness. And when we have access to the awareness, I always say, then we can do something. Before we've got access to it, the unconscious stuff, we can't really do anything. So I'd love to hear from both of you. And what are your favorite things that you can use for yourselves as parents, you know, that you learned?
I love how you mentioned earlier about you know, your experience with your girl wearing the dress that you wanted and all that. And that really played into as I went deeper into positive discipline, that's like Adlerian psychology. I didn't expect that, by the way. I thought it was just, okay, give me tools, positive discipline. But when we got into the Adlerian psychology and I went through the training, it's kind of like a therapy session, you know, like because you need to revisit your childhood memories as to why it impacts you, you know, why it impacts your decisions in life, your perspectives in life. And actually, you know, like I really strongly advocate for, like, I really want my kids to be compassionate and, you know, through modeling, but it's hard to model when you don't have compassion for yourself. And when I went deeper in that Adlerian psychology, Adlerian training, it really brought compassion to my past. When I revisited those childhood memories, those birth order, you know, how the birth order affects how we perceive ourselves. And I've, you know, spoken to my family about this, like my ahas. It brought so much compassion. And I felt free in a way, like a big load is taken off. And I find myself able to share my compassion. You know, like when somebody's lid is getting flipped, when they're highly emotional, when they're very triggered, I try to see, like, okay, what's going on, you know, and not judge right away the behavior that I see, but I wonder what happened. I wonder what happened to them, you know. So that's what really draws me in, positive discipline. Yeah.
I love that. And Valerie, you already earlier mentioned that you found silent signals, especially with the young. That's really helpful. And this was one of our silent signals, you know, I'm flipping my lid and you better leave, kind of thing. And family meetings. Would you like to add anything that you find really helpful now, maybe?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the Adlerian principles that I really, really loved and And that really resonated with me when I read the positive discipline book and later went deeper into adherence psychology is the courage to be imperfect. So in positive discipline, we often say that, you know, mistakes are opportunities to learn. So when I came across that in the positive discipline books, I really felt like, you know, validated and you know, being a perfectionist. And I think Sophia knows that you know, my top card is control. So I really felt like I was failing at like a lot of my parenting at that point in time. So when I read that, you know, mistakes are opportunities to learn, the courage to be imperfect, there was so much freedom and relief that I found in those words, you know. And as I met with more and more positive discipline educators and trainers, and even Jane Nelson herself, I was really touched by how authentic they were in sharing the mistakes that they made as parents. And it really debunked the hidden belief I had, you know, that I had to be the perfect parent in order for my child to turn out well. And this principle also helped me to regard my child with more compassion, because, you know, children will make mistakes, right? And home needs to be that safe environment for them to make those mistakes and to learn from them without blame or shame. And of course, that will in turn, you know, help to build the trust and the connection. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Maybe that's why we resonate so much, and I haven't shared that yet. We might even collaborate and do an online parenting workshop on that top card. I haven't done it so much. Mine is also control, and that I think that is so helpful to know for parents. What with the way you are, how that has a positive impact on your child. You know, there's good stuff about that as well, but what to watch out for as a parent, you know, when you're stressed and how you can react. So
yeah.
And yeah, that is one of my favorites as well, The Courage to be Imperfect, which was, I have one of Rudolf Dreikurs' biographies, and I think that's what it's called, The Courage to be Imperfect. He was known for that. So, and my last question is where it comes from, you know. So for the first few years, I didn't really, and I'm so grateful to now meet you, you know, to hopefully to have more conversations. There's so much to talk about. When I started facilitating parenting classes, and my children were 3 years old and 6, and they're now 13 and almost 10, you know. So I didn't know if this would work for any other parent but me. It worked so well for me, you know, but I didn't. So I just chanced it. I was so passionate, and I think that's how we connect. We could talk about this all day long. We're really passionate about this approach. And I didn't know, would it work or not? And one of my first experiences was with a parent, and this relates to what Valerie just said, having that courage to be imperfect. You know, we all make mistakes. And if we make a mistake, it's such a wonderful opportunity for learning. And what we can do as parents is to build skills with our children rather than criticize. And at that time, you know, it was when I was surrounded by parents whose children started school. In Ireland, they start at the age of 5 and sometimes 4. So that's quite early, you know. And I brought, now this is a much bigger shirt, but this is, I don't know, do they wear school uniforms in Singapore as well?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So the 4 and 5-year-olds, you know, they're faced with these small buttons, having to learn their fingers, you know, to button them up. And I think parents can relate to this. So this parent shared that instead of telling your child what to do, one of the approaches is talk less and act more, right? Let them watch you what you do, and don't talk so much. And this parent had really successfully role modeled that to their children. And then they saw how an older child in the family who already went to school and had mastered this ability to button up the shirt said to the 5-year-old younger sibling, just watch me. And then, you know, the younger child watched the older child, and the older child, then this parent said, really encouraged the younger child how to do that, you know. And that was one moment where I went, oh, this is working, and it kept me motivated to keep going and share this with how many people want, you know. One of my questions before you share, I would love to hear what has been your moment where you thought, after sharing this with other parents in your classes or privately, that this really works. You know, I'd love to hear your experience. Is whether you do have things like sibling rivalry in Singapore, or is this something that is maybe European? Because it can lead into adult behavior. And I think, yeah, you mentioned it with the birth order. It's so this is what I want to leave it with. It is so lovely to hear, you know, parents first come and they have a lot of sibling rivalry challenge, and then how it works with siblings encouraging each other like that. That was such a heartwarming moment for me. So feel free to start. Sophia, would you
Yeah,
like?
we find
Mhm.
yeah, we find that the challenges are almost the same, almost identical everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Like the challenges list, yeah, it's definitely sibling rivalry is here. You know, it's very universal. And what I found, the experience that I've had that really like fuel my passion is when we did this big group of 50, you know, parents and educators, and it was like um, we weren't sure, like we wanted to give them tools, you know, tools, because you know that's what they want. Like we have this problem, give me tools, right? And we were encouraged by our mentors in positive discipline on how connect with the heart first, use encouragement, you know, connection. It all boils down to that. Because if you're not connected with them, the tools won't work.
Mhm.
So Valerie and I, you know, went right in and we shared about encouragement and connection and all those experiential activities that embodies their learning when they step into the child's shoes. It was so the activity was the competent giant, and it was just so transformative with the group that I had, that in the end they didn't even ask for tools. Like we were like, oh, you know, the heart comes first, I think. So that's really like, okay, I really want to keep doing this, and you know, just finishing up with the 6-week parenting teams also. It's
Yes.
very encouraging how they now shift into just seeing the behavior that they want stopped into what's underneath that, what's the burden that they're having, like going in deeper and seeing where things could change, what could be better, and like just collaborating with their teams. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much. And just Sophia, to share, so that was educators and parents the two of you, which is really courageous, as we really need to step out of our comfort zone, and we need to show that courage as well, don't we? I know Valerie and you
Yes.
gave a workshop.
Yeah, the courage to be imperfect.
Ah,
Yeah, I was holding on to that principle when
yeah,
I faced the group
yeah,
of 50 educators.
that's it.
Yeah, and I was upright with because I was leading like a group of Chinese teachers. So I have never facilitated in Mandarin before.
Oh,
And so I was upfront with them, like, I just told them directly that, my Mandarin may not be as good as yours, but I'm still standing here, and if you have anything that you can help me with my Mandarin, please,
oh.
yeah, please help
And
me. Yeah.
thank you for saying that. Actually, I don't even know what is there an official language that is spoken in Singapore? What is, if Mandarin isn't your first language, what is the Singapore spoken language?
We mostly speak English, like,
English.
yeah,
Mhm.
but yeah, most I mean the main race here is Chinese.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's compulsory to take up Chinese in Singapore,
Mm.
like if you are Chinese.
Yeah, and
So,
there's also a lot of like other cultures. You
mhm.
know, we have the Malay and we have Hindus. You know, like different cultures. Indian. there's a lot of also being a Filipino, there's a lot of Filipino living here in Singapore also. So it's really like a melting pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, oh my goodness, when you were speaking just in the last few minutes, the two of you, I was thinking, this is not only Singapore and Ireland, and I'm from Germany, and Sophia, you're married an American. This really, we have access in just this group of three. There are so many different cultures. So we do have proof that this really works for all. And Jane Nelson has done so much work in Asia as well, hasn't she, with positive discipline?
Yeah, yeah. There are many parent educators in China as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Valerie, would you say on this, what's something that keeps motivating you to shows you it's not only working for you, but also parents, other parents? Would the educator's experience be the same for you, or have you got anything to add?
Yeah. I mean, the one with the 50 teachers was definitely memorable for me as well.
Mhm.
And I also feel especially touched whenever I see fathers signing up and attending our workshops because some of them were of course signed up by their wives, but they still showed up, and others signed up on their own accord, and some were even the ones who asked their wives along. So I think it really marks a change from the previous generation where fathers were mostly the ones working outside and the mothers are the ones taking care of the children. So now fathers are becoming more involved in the discipline and the care of the children, and they really want to find out more about better ways to communicate, better tools to build that strong relationship with their children. So I feel especially touched when I see fathers so game to participate in the role play activities and that we have, for example, fathers of toddlers who are willing to pretend to be playful, so that they can reach into their child's world. And I think in our recent workshop, there was an example of a father who he expressed discomfort about apologizing because it seemed like a weakness to him. And I think it's also a cultural thing because in our society, apologizing to children is almost unheard of, right? But through discussions, I think Sophia was able to share that admitting our mistakes is really modeling humility, is taking responsibility and repairing the disconnect in the relationship. So I think our workshops are really a place for parents to bring up their doubts, their struggles, their confusion about parenting and positive discipline, especially in an Asian context, and to have this healthy discussion in a safe place. And I think these are the things that really keep us going as parent educators, the opportunity to reach the hearts and the minds and the lives of parents. So we often have parents ask, my spouse or my parenting partner is not on the same parenting page as me, right? So
Mhm.
we hope that our parenting workshops will be like an avenue for parents to get on that same parenting page, and not just providing parents with the knowledge on the cognitive level, which to be honest is so widely available now, right, on social media, through books, articles, but it's really about reaching their hearts, like what Sophia shared just now, really reaching their hearts and helping them to experience what the child is going through, and building that community to walk that parenting journey with them. So we believe that I think that's where the lasting change happens, when the heart is touched.
And you just touched my heart because when you shared that, about apologizing to children and something else you just said, and I went, this is exactly what I'm hearing. Oh yes, the parents coming to us and saying, how can I get my partner to be on the same page? I think we hear that in all parenting classes all over the world. And oh, thank you so much. So as a final thought, I'm going to add your details below. And I know, Sophia, you already have a 16-year-old and you've embarked in the parenting teenagers stage already, and you're facilitating workshops, so where if somebody is interested, maybe, to connect with you, because online everything's possible. I know you're on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm going to link that below. Is there anywhere else you share information about upcoming events or?
That's mainly where we share our events and
Hang out.
workshops. So just follow
Uh-huh.
us at Instagram at Positive Discipline SG.
Brilliant. I'll share
For
those
now, for now.
for now. Yeah. Instagram and Facebook. And your Instagram is so helpful. I didn't know who you were. I shared this. I just looked up Positive Discipline on Instagram when I joined just a couple of years ago, and I found you. And I highly recommend, like you're so practical, and you share those tools and your own experience. So I really enjoy your Instagram posts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any final
Thank you.
thoughts? I know you're already way later in the day than here in Ireland. We're just starting before we leave.
I just I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak with you, Annette and Valerie. So yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really encouraging to be able to hear you like share your experiences from a different part of the world, and it's really yeah, a great encouragement to us. Thank you.
And doesn't it really show that this works? It really works. And even though it might be hard, like Sophia said, you hear these tools at the start and you go, why doesn't this work? It is. And I make a big deal about this. You're familiar with this, the continuum of change, how there are different stages when you're learning new skills, and there can be a bit of discouragement at the start before it goes more into a flow, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So hopefully we can do this again, maybe on a more specific topic. Even if the viewers, the parents who see this could leave comments, maybe something you heard and you'd like to hear more about. It could give the three of us ideas to come together maybe and have a more deep dive into one particular topic. And I know we could go on and on, but I'm going to leave it here. And I know there's children coming home from school. And thank you very, very much for joining me.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Annette. Thank you for the time.
Thanks.